Vinny, what have the last few days been like? How does it feel now to have obviously sealed the championship?
It's been good. It's been, how can I say, like you're always living under this constant pressure to perform. And then today, I've got to be honest, there's a little bit of a weight off the shoulders. And we're all human, so it feels nice. And but it allows me still to work and continue thinking about even more about next season now.
How does it compare to winning a title as a player, winning a Premier League title?
It's different to compare. I mean, the feeling initially is very similar, but like I said, I think as a player, it's, you know, I think as a player you're thinking more me, and when it happens, it's like. But as a manager, you're thinking more team, and I feel really happy because I know what it means to the players. I know what it means to the staff. I can see the bigger picture as well, because let's not forget, getting to the Premier League for us has an impact on people's lives, you know, livelihoods, and it's I can see that side of it more now, and so I'm proud, but both are good feelings.
Was that part of the emotion then as well when you're looking at the fans full time at Ewood Park? I mean, there was quite a bit going on around you as well. You were respectful, but then also enjoying the celebrations.
Yeah. And all I could think is we could have filled that. We could have filled that stand. It was like there was a big empty stand and a stadium not fully filled. And I thought for a derby, I think it should be almost a rule where you can't have an empty stadium in a derby. It's got to be. Capacity for me, and I'm saying it respectfully because it takes two teams to have a good derby, and that, you know, that could have been one of them, and for us it takes nothing away, but for the league it would have been unbelievable if we would have just embraced the occasion.
You still got that moment at Turf Moor to look forward to, a packed Turf Moor though, on the final day of the season.
Well, Turf Moor's always packed, so that's great, and I think, we've also got a role to play still. I think Bristol is different. We play against a team that is probably thinking like us towards next season as well, and wants to win because that's what we do. But I think the Cardiff game, we still have a role to play. You know, there's a lot of teams fighting for their lives, and it's a game where we get to show ourselves one more time in front of our fans. So I can still look forward to the two games.
What's your message to the players then as well? Because you can still get over 100 points for the season.
Yeah, I'm not one. I don't focus too much on records like this. I focus on. Do you know what? I focus on trying to get the team ready to win games and consistently do that. So for me, Bristol is a game in its own, and Cardiff comes after that. And if you get a record, then I'm happy with it, of course. But I'm not. I struggle to set a record as a target. You know, I understand that's for the fans, but for me, it's the bigger picture always.
Vinny, as you touched on planning for next season as well, just wonder what it is you feel you need from the owners now to give you the best opportunity of success next season, and also what you deem as success. Is it just about staying up, or have you set your sights already that little bit higher?
Look, I like to start a season without setting a ceiling. You know, I'm completely rational, completely aware of the challenge, the level in the Premier League. But in terms of how I am as a person, I prefer not to set a ceiling in the beginning of what we can achieve. But it's definitely going to be a season of, that'll be very demanding on the team, on the squad, on the club. And I think you got to find the balance again. I always speak about the different scenarios, the different dimensions you have to take into account. So obviously in January we had to take into account getting promoted, staying in the championship, plan for being sustainable in both scenarios. I think now you're planning again a step further. So we have to plan to try and be competitive in the Premier League, whilst if we do come down, making sure that we are able to come back up again and we're not sinking, you know. So those two ideas, to match them, my ambition as a goal, as a coach would be, of course, give me all the money of the world and we go and compete with. But I think my goal as well as being respectful to the football club as well is to make sure that the club stays healthy. I think that's important, and I don't have the answers now, but how you compete while staying healthy, I think that's what we're looking at.
I take it that you have an idea of numbers that you need to get in to enhance the squad. Again.
Yeah, very clear.
What are you kind of looking at? Are you able to divulge any of what you're kind of looking at?
No, I can't because as well, it's an evolving picture always. So it depends. If you can get a player, then you'll make room for him in the squad as well. But if that player then turns it down, then that pushes someone else up. So it's an evolving picture. And if I said a hard number now, it probably change. But as well, I think we still look at a squad, and I hope that we'll be proven right on that. But the future will tell. A squad with a lot of players who can progress still. So. When we did the transfers we did in January, we had in our minds that these players will hopefully grow into the Premier League, and whether they're all ready now, probably the answer is not yet, but we'll have to speed up the process.
Just finally from me, Vinny, as well, because I imagine you had a bit of a look at what went on in the Premier League last night as well. Yeah. Just your reaction to what you saw Manchester City against Arsenal, and because many people feel that was a moment that the Premier League title was clinched as well last night.
Yeah, look, I was at the stadium and it made me feel a little bit better about our game there. Obviously, when we played there, it was a little bit of a reality check. But you had that first half where you thought, hey, we're not that bad, and the second half it was just boom, and then you start not questioning, because we never question, but you start thinking about how much the gap is that you have to bridge. But the reality is, I think everybody has a big gap to bridge with that group of players when they're at their maximum. So, like I said before us, Leipzig got thumped 7-0. And they're a top 4 team in Germany, and then after us and before that, United lost 6-1 over there, which I was at that game as well. And then I saw Arsenal the other day, and it felt the same. It's so I think in terms of, it gave us a good wake up call, because when we're then thinking that's the level we have to at least be able to compete with. But in reality, I think there's Man City, and then it's theirs to lose, and I think it's always theirs to lose as long as they're as strong,
Sounds like you do feel it's a title clincher last night then.
Yeah, no, it's not so much about the result, and I don't think there's anything, because I'm entirely, so the work that Mikel has done at Arsenal, and it's not for me to debate too much the other thing, but I think in this moment it's more a positive I want to say is the work Mikel has done at Arsenal, in rebuilding the squad and then making it competitive with one of the best squads in world football. It's unbelievable to have achieved what he's done so far, and to be second ahead of Chelsea, United, all these clubs who've been spending loads for so many years. It's a tremendous achievement. But if you're going to start comparing people with what I've seen from Man City, it's at this moment in time, it's just incredibly difficult, and yeah, so it's not so much about the title clincher, it's more about the realization that this team, it's theirs to lose. If they're performing like they should perform, like they want to perform or can perform, then they're not going to give much away. You could see it in the game. It's just the physicality, the technical ability, also mixed with experience and 6 years of coaching, of adapting to different tactics, tactical opposition, and then you got the big guy up front who's decided he wants to run and work hard for the team as well. So that makes it even more difficult, because they're a team now, and. Yeah, so long story to say that the game at the Etihad doesn't feel as bad anymore as it did feel on the day.
Oh, man. Thanks, Vinny.
Morning, Vinny. You okay?
Morning, yes.
Morning. Just so to follow on a bit from that, obviously you mentioned it being a bit of a wake up call, that game. I'm sure I'm sure you don't make snap decisions or snap judgment based on one game, but how much, when you reflect on that now, how much has that informed what you've done for the rest of the season, and particularly the summer, in terms of the gap that you are going to need to bridge to get to the Premier League?
I think the wake-up call, maybe a wake-up call, take that term out of what I just said. It's more, for me, it's more a trigger. And I think there's these moments like Sheffield United losing away 4-1. There's these triggers you get in a season that makes you like, it re-energizes you, it refocuses you, like, job not done yet. You know, why I've keep banging on about the fact that we are number 21 and nothing more. Is that moment, it just re-energizes you. And for me, in that moment, it's like, okay, good, roll your sleeves up and let's try and find a way. You know, you're never going to get that level. But I think we're in the business of progressing and making the difference between us and the very top smaller each day. And along the way, you pass teams by doing that. So I'm nowhere near pretending that the outcome would be different, because I've seen enough teams this season get absolutely spanked at the Etihad, and it just keeps coming. But I definitely think that by having that approach, you pass teams along the way, and that's to the benefit of our season next season.
Now that you've had a day or so to kind of digest and reflect on promotion, have you kind of, and particularly winning the title, have you had time to kind of reflect on just how big an achievement it is? You know, bearing in mind, you know, this club was relegated 12 months ago, and not every team, far from it, returns back to the Premier League at the first time of asking from the Championship.
Yeah, I feel as well. Everything came well together. In all fairness, it's a good year to get out of the Championship. If you see what might be coming down next year and what might be going up from League One. The Championship in itself was already tough this season because the amount of teams with Premier League experience that we faced, and so the achievement is there's a reality to this achievement that doesn't escape me. You know, I understand how big it was for us to do it, but then it's the magnitude of the next challenge that kind of takes over. And I've got to be honest, I think now 90% of our time is concerned towards that. I mean, outside of course, normally preparing the games like we always do. So we prepare the games like we always do, but everything else goes towards the future and the magnitude of that challenge. Even though I think it's been, I mean, what do you want to do in life? We've made memories. No one can take this away. We've had a fantastic journey, and I don't want to spoil any of it because I'm thinking about what happens in 12 months' time.
Just in terms of the players who have been out recently, Nathan Teller, Yamar Ekdal, obviously Jordan Bayer too, how are their progressions in their recoveries coming? And do you think there's potentially a chance at this moment in time for the final game of the season for either of them?
We'll see. Depends what they've done yesterday night. I had all the answers 3 days ago. I have no answers anymore now, so I'll find out in about 1 hour.
Just on Jordan, obviously the impact he's had this season has been exceptional. On Jordan Bayer,
yeah,
he's been an exceptional player at the back for you. There's no doubt about that. Just when you reflect on it, just how big an achievement has it for him to, especially the timing that he came to you without having had a pre-season with yourselves, to come right at the final day of a transfer window and to have the impact that he's had. How has it been to see him grow throughout the season?
He's been. You know, he's been a special player to work with, in all honesty. I think I'll go back to the collective of centre-backs, but I think we've assembled a group of centre-halves that, by normal centre-back standards, still have a lot to improve on. You know, like, I think anyone would say we've got to be a little bit more dominant in the air, and we've got to be... But they've compensated so well, and teams have struggled to deal with that we faced. That's why our defensive record has been so good. They've compensated so well their lackings with the abilities that they do have, which is they're mobile, they're fast, they keep hold of the ball when they recover the ball. You know, they don't just boot it away. So that takes a little bit the momentum away from a team where they can't have that forward, back, and then in the end they end up over the top of you. With our centre halves, I think they've made the most of their strengths, but obviously I respect the old school side of defending as well. So we've been able to improve them as well along the season on just the real centre half work. So my opinion on Jordan is the same as on the other guys, is by improving the basics, which are easier to improve really, by improving the basics of defending, they'll reach a very high level. And that's exciting for me. Like, there's no young defender who's naturally coming in and winning headers from 6'3" centre forwards. You learn that along the way with experience and where to be in the box to defend the box. You learn that with experience. So these guys have got tools now that a lot of defenders don't have, and the basics they will get with time. So that's been exciting for me to watch them evolve that way.
Just a last one for me, particularly on your loanies. Obviously, so many of them have come into the squad, the side, and they've become very key members. I guess it gives you a little bit of a headache for the summer, I guess, because obviously, being loan players, some are, going to be going back to their parent clubs. How big of a challenge is that to replace, the gaps that are going to appear in your squad when they do?
Yeah, it doesn't give a headache at all. I think I've been always very clear to the squad, I think we're on a journey together to improve, but I've never handed anyone presents. So when someone plays, he's got to earn it. When someone is an important player, he's got to earn it, but not earning it based on what you've done last month. It's based on what you've done last week, and you've got to constantly earn it. So the squad that we'll build for next season will always be, the competition will always be every player in the world that we can afford, but with the priority to develop the potential of our own. So if we see, for example, that a player, I've named enough names today, but if we see that one of those players can reach a top level or can reach a Premier League level, then we'll prioritize that player always. But in terms of we're not intending. I don't think it's in our culture. It's never been this season either to hand out presents or rewards. We just carry on and try and get better, and they've got to get better as well. And yeah.
Thank you, Vinny. Good luck.
Thank you.